Jin Woo had previously saved Hyen's life by transforming Bonggu into a shadow soldier. As the Korean hunters departed, he chose to stay behind and clear the remaining ants. After his efforts, Jin Woo reached level 100 and resurrected the Ant King as a shadow soldier, naming him Bairu. New characters were introduced, including a Chinese S-rank hunter and 2 potential future enemies, while Jin Woo's father observed from the shadows. Following the Jeju Island raid, Jin Woo honored those who had lost their lives. He then secured permission to open his own guild before stepping into another, Red Gate alone. Inside the Red Gate, Jin Woo's shadow soldiers engaged in battle against the gate's monsters. He eventually located the boss, who questioned if Jin Woo was the one responsible for killing its minions. The creature expressed its surprise that Jin Woo had made it this far with such a small body, declaring that this was where it would all end. It ordered its minions to attack, having already stationed them for an ambush. However, nothing happened. Confused, the creature wondered why its minions were not responding to the signal. At that moment, Jin Woo stood calmly, remarking, "Call me small? Now that's funny." He then signaled his own shadow soldiers, who emerged from the forest, carrying the heads of defeated minions. As they appeared, Jin Woo taunted the creature, stating, "Seems like no one is left." The creature, now panicking, commanded its henchmen to destroy Jin Woo and his army. In response, Jin Woo ordered his shadow soldiers to take care of all the enemies, and both sides charged toward each other, initiating the fight. The shadow soldiers proved to be far superior to the advancing enemy, taking them out with ease. Meanwhile, Jin Woo pressed forward toward the boss, with Tank clearing a path for him. Seeing Jin Woo advance, the boss became furious and charged at him. However, before it could reach Jin Woo, Bu and Igris intervened, cutting it down. Bu severed one of the boss's arms while Igris chopped off a leg, causing the creature to fall to the ground. As it looked up, it saw Tusk towering over it, using his ability, Inverse Gravity, to pin the beast to the ground. With the boss immobilized, Jin Woo slowly approached its face, stating, "Now you will answer my questions. It will be less painful for you if you do." After interrogating the beast, Jin Woo stood before its lifeless body, contemplating that it must be the system interfering again since he was unable to gather any important information from the boss. He opened his inventory, muttering, "I'll find out sooner or later. Anyway, so it should be fine." He brings out a key from his inventory that he received from the cursed random box, thinking I reached level 100 at the Jeju Island raid and met the minimum requirements to unlock the dungeon. He looked at the key and was able to see its description. It was the key to the Cardon temple, and a timer was displayed, showing how much time remained before he could enter the dungeon. Once the time ran out, the key would expire. While reading the description, he starts to get flashbacks of the dungeon from the last time he was there, thinking the system was calling him back to the place where it all started, but things were different. This time, as he had grown much stronger compared to the last time he was there, he wonders if it was all planned from the beginning, and if it's waiting for his return. If that's the case, then wait. For me, we see an entity sitting inside the dungeon as it smirks, hearing Jin Woo say, "I'll be coming soon." The scene shifts to a dungeon where a man is panicking as a dark figure stands before him. The man asks the creature about its identity, and the figure replies, "He's not the one. Either they're hiding cleverly, aren't they?" The brilliant fragments of light sealed the king of snowfolk, and the monarch of frost notices something behind him. As he turns, he sees Yogamont, the king of demonic specters, and the monarch of transfiguration. Yogimont tells Silid that he has come to inform him about the East Island. Silid asks if he is talking about the small island, noting that it is the place of the shadow monarch. He then asks if Yoya has decided to take care of that place. Yagi tells him that the rulers have decided to release their legions south of that location, adding, "I'll take that place." Sad asks, "How are you planning to deal with the shadow monarch who is also there?" Yagimont replies, "It'll be all right if the planner fulfills the contract." With a smirk, he adds, "The greatest fragment of brilliant light has been confirmed in that place as well." Hearing this, Silid becomes excited. He asks, "You intentionally came here just to tell me that?" Yamin then asks what Silid plans to do with that information. Silid replies, "If you are willing to follow me, then why not?" During their conversation, Silid suddenly notices something. He tells Yoimd, "It looks like we were being lured here." Another person walks up to them. Silid comments, "The person earlier can't possibly wield the power of the brilliant fragments of light, so I was wondering why a trace of that power was here. This person plans to get in our way." With rage in his eyes, the man asks them about the small island to the east, questioning if they are referring to. Korea. Silid asks, "What are you going to do about it?" From behind, Yogi tells them, "We do not have time to deal with him." As they begin to leave, Silid taunts the man, "Try and stop us if you can." The man charges toward them, declaring, "I won't let you escape." As he strikes, Sil effortlessly blocks the attack with his ice shield with a grin on his face. He prepares to counterattack as he unleashes his power. A massive explosion engulfs the area. The scene shifts to Jin Woo as he walks to his car. Just as he's about to open the door, a man approaches him and asks, "Excuse me, are you Sun Jin Woo?" He introduces himself as Adam White, a senior official from the Federal Bureau of Hunters. Adam hands Jin Woo his business card and says, "It's a pleasure to meet you, Mr. Sun. Feel free to call me Adam." He apologizes for the sudden appearance, explaining that he's been difficult to track down, and he adds that he even stopped by their office. Jin Woo, now thinking Adam might be the person Jinho mentioned who was looking for him, asks, "What business do you have with me?" Adam responds that he wants to share some information with Jin Woo. Intrigued, Jin Woo asks what kind of information. Adam replies, "Perhaps no country or institution in the world could provide the information I'm about to share except us." When Jin Woo asks why they're willing to share this information with him, Adam explains, "Because we benefit from sharing knowledge with special individuals like you." He further explains that they had planned to visit him for another reason, but after seeing the events of the Zhu Island raid, their deputy director wanted to meet him in person. Adam smiles and adds, "I'd say this is unprecedented, and our deputy director will explain the rest of the details. There's a car nearby if you'd like to meet with him." Curious about the information Adam wants to share, Jin Woo gets into his car and thinks, "Information, huh?" Still unsure if the details they wish to provide are reliable, he tells Adam that he will give it some thought and contact him later. Smiling, Adam comments, "How silly of me, I forgot that a good hand should never be hidden when striking a deal." Then he adds, "An upgrader." Jin Woo is taken aback. Adam explains, "An upgrader is an awakened being who can enhance the abilities of another awakened being. Have you heard of them?" As he asks, the scene shifts to a car where Adam and Jin Woo arrive at a building. Adam then introduces Jin Woo to Michael Connor, the deputy director of the Federal Bureau of Hunters. Michael shakes Jin Woo's hand and says, "It's a pleasure to meet you." After the introductions, Adam announces that he will serve as their interpreter. Michael, being direct, slides a stack of immigration documents across the table and says, "It usually takes anywhere from 1 to 2 years for processing, but we're willing to make an exception for you." He adds, "Just say the word, and you'll be granted American citizenship in a second." Jin Woo, however, responds seriously, "I came here because Mr. White said you have some information to share with me, an awakened being who can enhance the abilities of another awakened being. An upgrader, is it possible for a hunter's abilities to be upgraded?" Jin Woo asks. Michael smiles and replies, "Actually, the person who possesses such power is here right now." Looking to the back, he instructs his staff, "Please tell Miss Selner to come in." As Miss Selner approaches, Mr. Connor introduces Norma Selner to Jin Woo, informing him that she is the only person in the world capable of enhancing the abilities of awakened beings. Observing her, Jin Woo thinks that she seems like a completely different type of awakened being. Michael then speaks up, telling Miss Selner to explain to Jin Woo the extent of her powers. Miss Selner begins by addressing Jin Woo, acknowledging that he might be skeptical about what she's about to say. She adds that everyone had the same doubtful look when they first heard it. However, she tells him that once he experiences her power, he will beg for more. This prompts Mr. Connor to call out to her as she approaches Jin Woo. Mrs. Selner explains that Jin Woo might already be aware that every awakened individual has a limit to their strength, and no one can surpass that limit. An awakened being's rank would always remain the same unless they undergo a second awakening. This, she notes, was common knowledge among hunters. Jin Woo then asks, "But you can change that?" To which Ms. Selner responds, "Yes." She reveals that she has the power to help awakened beings break through their limitations through a process of 3 stages. She can lift their limitations. She adds that she didn't even know what to call this power, but she is capable of performing a force reawakening. In simple terms, she can bring out a person's true potential. Mr. Connor agrees with her and confirms that everything she says is true. However, he points out that Miss Selner would need a long period of rest after each use of her power, which means she can only help 3 or 4 individuals per year. Jinmo thinks to himself that he would be one of the 3 or 4 people she would help. If what she said was true, then she must have an incredible ability, he then asks. How effective is the process exactly? Miss Selner explains that the results vary for each individual, but after going through all 3 stages, an individual would experience a strength increase of anywhere from 20% to 30% upon hearing this. Jean Woo is stunned at 20% to 30%. Increase in strength seems insane. He now understands why Hang Dong-soo had decided to go to America. Despite facing so much public criticism, Jimu thinks to himself, who would turn down such an offer? He then asks, what if someone finds out about her powers? Mr. Connor replies, explaining that this is exactly why she is under their care. They ensure her safety while compensating her with a suitable salary in return. Miss Selner would help enhance the abilities of their selected hunters. Mr. Connor then introduces her again to Jean Woo, explaining that her power would be used on him as a gift. Still doubtful, Jean Woo asks, you mean as an offer? Mr. Connor clarifies that once he becomes a hunter for the Federal Bureau, he would be given top priority and receive preferential benefits. Additionally, they would arrange meetings with the guild of his choice and help him sign the best contract. Miss Selner slides a plate across the table and tells Jinwoo that he doesn't need to decide right away, as they are only easing him into the idea for now. Jinwoo asks, excuse me? And Miss Selner reiterates that, as they said, this is a gift. Afterward, Mr. Connor asks for permission to lift his limits. Jinwoo asks, for nothing in return? Mr. Connor explains that he should think of it as a complimentary service. Jinwoo, recalling Miss Selner's words that he would beg for more once he experienced it, realizes she is confident in her results. Miss Selner then asks Jinwoo to hold out his hand and look in her eyes closely, telling him that this is the first step. Michael, watching the scene, thinks to himself that Jinwoo has already taken the bait and is keeping us cool. However, once the first stage is complete, Michael believes Jinwoo will likely try to reach out to them, and if he is an impatient type, he might sign the papers right away. Meanwhile, Jinwoo's hand begins to glow as Miss Selner holds it. Mr. Connor reflects on Jinwoo's past achievements, how he succeeded in the Jeju Island raid with powers that had never been seen before, and wonders what else Jinwoo could accomplish. As a green aura surrounds Jinwoo and the light in his eyes intensifies the process. Continues. Miss Selner's eyes begin to glow and she is enveloped by a powerful aura. Suddenly, it becomes clear that she has shifted to a place filled with darkness. A face appears behind her, where only darkness remains. Gradually, a figure emerges from the shadows and slowly approaches her. The figure comes closer until it is right in front of her, staring with a terrifying light in its eyes. At this, Miss Selner screams, and the process is abruptly halted, shocking everyone in the room. Suddenly, some of their agents draw their guns and point them at Jinwoo, demanding to know what he has done to Miss Selner. Mr. Connor angrily shouts at them, asking if they have lost their minds, and if they don't recognize who Jinwoo is. He calls them morons and tells them to go check on Miss Selner if they are concerned. Bowing his head, Mr. Connor apologizes to Jinwoo for the agent's behavior, saying they had stepped out of line. Still shocked, Jinwoo replies, it's all right. Angrily, Mr. Connor approaches one of the agents and tells him that if they had done something like this to Thomas Andre or Luji Gang, they would all be dead by now. He coldly orders, got it. The agent, terrified, quickly agrees. Mr. Connor then asks Miss Selner what happened. Noticing that she is still trembling, he remarks that she is drenched in sweat and asks if she is feeling unwell. After that, Mr. Connor explains to Jinwoo that Miss Selner is feeling unwell and asks if it would be okay to reschedule the procedure for another time. Jinwoo agrees. Mr. Connor then instructs Adam to escort Jinwoo out of the room. Once Jinwoo has left, Mr. Connor turns to Miss Selner and asks what